One day before my sister's wedding, Jessica sent me a text that changed everything. "You are out of my wedding. Only real family belongs here." I stared at those words for a long time. Then I sent back one sentence. When Jessica read my reply out loud, my mother burst out laughing. She told everyone I was bluffing. She said by morning, I would be standing at their front door, crying, apologizing, begging to be let back in. Because that is what I always did. But this time I did not apologize. This time, I let them walk into that wedding, without knowing what I had already done. She was still laughing when she went to bed that night. She was not laughing when the phone rang the next morning. Before I get into what happened, please take a moment to like and subscribe. And I would love for you to drop where you are watching from, your city, your time zone. Let me know in the comments. Now, let me take you back 3 months to the day I walked into my sister's fiancé's office and saw something I was never supposed to see. But first, some context. My father died of pancreatic cancer 8 years ago. I was 23. Jessica, my little sister, had just turned 18. And my mother Diane fell apart in a way I did not think was possible for someone who used to run the PTA with military precision. She stopped going to work, stopped opening mail. The mortgage payments piled up, 2 months behind, then 3. I remember finding a stack of past due notices, stuffed inside a cereal box, like she thought hiding them would make them disappear. I had graduated 2 years earlier, with an accounting degree, had a decent job at a mid-size firm in town, nothing glamorous but steady. And when I saw those notices, I did not think twice. I called the bank, set up automatic payments from my account, told my mother I would handle it until she got back on her feet. She never got back on her feet. That first year I paid the mortgage, the utilities, and the property taxes. I drove my mother to therapy every Tuesday. I helped Jessica fill out her college applications, signed her student housing lease, and when the tuition bill came, $12,000 a year after financial aid, I covered it. Nobody asked me to. That is important. Nobody sat me down and said, "Myra, you need to carry this family now." I just did it because my father was gone. And somebody had to, and I kept hearing his voice in my head. Take care of them. I did not know that promise. The one I made to a dead man in my own head would become a cage. I would spend the next 8 years locked inside. But we will get there. Here's the thing about being the one who gives. After a while, people stop seeing the giving. They just see you. Jessica graduated from college with a communications degree and bounced between 3 jobs in 2 years. Each time she quit or got let go, she would call me not our mother. Just until I figure things out, she would say. I paid her rent for 6 months straight. Then her car insurance lapsed. Then her credit card balance crept up. Each time I covered it. Each time she promised to pay me back. She never did, and I never asked. My mother's line was always the same. Jessica is more fragile than you. She feels things more deeply. As if I did not feel anything at all. Last year I turned 30. It was a Saturday. I had been looking forward to it all month. I had even made a reservation at this Italian place I had been wanting to try. I did not tell anyone because I figured your family remembers your birthday. Jessica posted an Instagram story of herself at brunch with friends. Mimosas. A charcuterie board, the whole thing. My mother called at 2 in the afternoon not to say happy birthday, but to ask me to drive her to a podiatrist appointment. I sat in that parking lot for 40 minutes waiting for her, and not once did she mention my birthday. When I brought it up in the car on the way home, she blinked and said, "Oh honey, I thought that was next week." Colleen, my best friend, the one person who actually showed up with a cupcake that night, told me something I was not ready to hear. They do not forget your birthday, Myra. They just do not think it matters. She was right. 6 months ago, Jessica got engaged. Brandon Hale, 28, good-looking, clean-cut, worked in commercial real estate, or at least he said he did. He had the smile of a man who knew how to make a room like him, and the savings account of a man who spent everything making sure they did. Jessica picked the venue before she picked her bridesmaid dresses. Wren Valley Estate, a converted farmhouse on 12 acres with string lights and a stone patio overlooking a creek. $18,000, just for the reservation and deposit. Brandon could not cover it. Diane certainly could not. And Jessica did not even pretend to look anywhere else. She just turned to me at dinner one night and said, "You are so much better at handling this stuff than I am." So I called Wren Valley. I filled out the contract. I put my credit card down for the deposit. My name on every line, Myra Templeton. Then came the catering contract. 14,000 the florist, 6,500. The photographer 8,500. Each one I contacted directly negotiated the terms, signed the agreements, paid the deposits. Jessica never read a single page. She picked the options, the salmon entree, the peony arrangements, the candid style photography package, and I handled the rest. The paperwork, the signatures, the payment schedules. She did not even know whose name was on those contracts. And she did not care enough to ask. $47,000 total. Nobody said thank you in any way that counted. The closest I got was Jessica hugging me after the tasting and saying, "See, this is why I need you. Need. Not appreciate, not love, need." I did not know that name on those contracts. My name would be the only leverage I would ever have. Then Gail Hale entered the picture. Brandon's mother. 61 silver bob pearl earrings that probably cost more than my car payment. She ran the women's auxiliary at her church and organized the annual Founders' Day gala in town. She was the kind of woman who could make you feel underdressed while you were standing in your own kitchen. I first met her at the bridal shower planning meeting, which, by the way, nobody told me was happening until Colleen saw a photo on Jessica's private story. Gail looked at me across the table and said, "You are very involved for a sister. Most brides prefer their mother to take the lead." I glanced at Diane, waiting for her to say something, anything. Actually, Myra has been handling most of the logistics. Or even just, "We are glad she is here." Instead, my mother nodded and said, "You are right. Myra should probably step back a little." That was the first cut. And it came from my own mother, in front of a stranger. What I did not know then was that Diane had told Gail a very specific version of the story. When Gail asked who was covering the venue, Diane said, "Our family is handling it. Not Myra is paying for everything out of her own pocket. Not my eldest daughter has spent $47,000 so far. Just our family." Because admitting the truth would mean admitting that the Templeton family could not afford this wedding without one person's bank account. And Diane would rather lose me than lose face in front of her daughter's future mother-in-law. That was the second cut. I just did not feel it yet. Over the next few weeks, the exclusion became systematic. Jessica stopped including me in vendor communications. The group chat for wedding planning, the one I had created, went quiet. A new one had been made without me. I only knew because the florist emailed me a revised arrangement list that referenced notes from the bride's group chat, and none of those notes came from any conversation I was part of. I called Jessica. She did not pick up. I texted, "Hey, can we talk about the floral changes?" She replied 4 hours later, "Gail and Mom are helping me now. You do not have to worry about it." I stared at that text for a long time. You do not have to worry about it. As if I had been worrying by choice. As if handling $47,000 worth of vendor contracts was a hobby I had picked up for fun. I called my mother that evening, tried to keep my voice steady. "I am still paying for all of this," I said. "I have a right to know what is being changed." Diane sighed, the kind of sigh that made me feel like I was 12 again, asking for something unreasonable. "That is exactly what Jessica means," she said. "You always make it about the money. It is about the money. It is my money. And that is why she feels small around you, Myra. You hold it over her." I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. That night I sat at my desk and opened the folder on my laptop. Every vendor contract, every receipt, every email confirmation. I scrolled through them slowly, reading my own name over and over. Myra Templeton. Myra Templeton. Myra Templeton. I did not know why I was looking at them, but something in me was taking inventory. I tried one more time. I asked Jessica to meet me for coffee, just the two of us. No Diane, no Gail. She agreed. Then she showed up 40 minutes late, still in workout clothes, with her phone face up on the table between us like a timer counting down how long she was willing to stay. "Look," she said before I had even finished my first sip. "I know you have helped a lot. I do. But you make everything about you. The planning, the money, the decisions. It is like, this is your wedding, not mine. I have spent $47,000, Jessica. See. She pointed at me like I had just proven her point. There it is, the number. You always throw the number around. It is not throwing it around. It is a fact. She leaned back and crossed her arms. Something shifted behind her eyes. Not guilt, not gratitude. Something harder. You want to know what is exhausting, she said. Everyone keeps telling me how lucky I am to have you. Your sister is amazing. Myra is such a saint. I am so sick of being Myra's little sister, like I am this helpless charity case, and you are the hero of the family. I sat there, let that land. So you do not want my help? I did not say that. You just said my help makes you feel like a charity case. She picked up her phone. I knew this would go like this. I paid for both coffees. I walked to my car. I sat behind the wheel for 10 minutes without starting the engine, watching her drive away in the car whose insurance I had paid for the last 2 years. 3 weeks later, I walked into Brandon's office and everything changed. It was a Thursday afternoon. I needed Brandon's signature on a wedding insurance form. The liability policy for the venue required it, and the deadline was the next day. I had called ahead. His receptionist said he would be in all afternoon. I pulled into the parking lot of his office, a small commercial real estate firm in a strip mall off Route 9. His car was in the back row away from the entrance. That was the first thing I noticed. Brandon always parked up front. He liked being seen. I was halfway across the lot when the rear passenger door of his car opened. A woman stepped out mid-20s, dark hair pulled back adjusting the collar of her blouse. She smoothed her skirt, checked her reflection in the car window, and walked briskly toward the side entrance of the building. Then Brandon got out same door. He straightened his tie, ran a hand through his hair, and turned toward the building. That is when he saw me. I was standing 20 feet away, keys in my hand folder under my arm, the insurance form with his name on it. The color drained from his face, not slowly, all at once like someone had pulled a plug. His mouth opened, and for about 3 seconds he just stood there, with his hand still on his tie, looking at me like I was a hallucination. He could blink away. I did not move. I did not run. I did not reach for my phone. I just looked at him, and he knew that I knew. The woman disappeared around the corner without glancing back. She had no idea I was there, but Brandon did. And the look on his face told me everything his mouth was about to try to deny. He caught up to me before I reached my car. Myra, wait, please. I kept walking. He stepped in front of me. It is not what it looks like. I looked at him, really looked. His collar was crooked. There was a faint smudge of something lip gloss maybe near his jaw. How long, I said. He blinked. What? How long, Brandon? His shoulders dropped. He glanced toward the building, then back at me. 4 months. 4 months. Jessica had been engaged for 6. Does she know? No? His voice cracked. And she cannot. Please, Myra. I will end it, I swear. It was a mistake. A 4-month mistake. I know how it sounds. But I love Jessica. I do. Who is she? He hesitated. A colleague, Megan. It is. It is already fading. I was going to end it before the wedding. I stared at the insurance form in my folder. His name was on it right below mine. 2 people who were supposed to be protecting Jessica standing in a parking lot, one holding evidence and the other holding his breath. You have 1 week, I said. 1 week to what? To tell her yourself, or end it so cleanly that she never has to know. I will. I promise. I did not believe him. But I also knew what would happen if I told Jessica myself. Diane would call me jealous. Jessica would say I was trying to sabotage her happiness, and I would lose what was left of my family over a truth nobody was ready to hear. So I walked away. I got in my car. I drove home with the unsigned insurance form still in the folder. I hated myself for that silence. I still do. I told Colleen that night. We sat on her back porch with a bottle of wine I did not touch, and I laid it all out. The parking lot, the woman, the crooked collar, the 4 months. Colleen did not hesitate. Tell her. Now. If I tell her, my mother will blame me. So she will say I am jealous that I am trying to ruin Jessica's life because I do not have one of my own. Colleen set her glass down. And if you do not tell her, and she finds out later that you knew, what does that make you complicit? Exactly. I picked at the label on the wine bottle, peeled it back slowly, strip by strip, like I could stall long enough for the answer to change. He said he would end it. Men who cheat in parking lots do not end things, Myra. She was right. I knew she was right. But here is the part that is hard to explain. I was not protecting Brandon. I was protecting Jessica. Because despite everything, the exclusion, the ingratitude, the person, you always make it about you, she was still my sister. And I still remembered her at 18 crying in my car the night our father died, gripping my sleeve like I was the only solid thing in the world. So I made a decision. I would give Brandon 3 months. If he ended it, really ended it, then Jessica would never have to know. And if he did not, I would figure out another way. It was a terrible decision. I know that now, but it was the one I made, and I made it because I was still trying to hold this family together with my bare hands. That is the part I have not forgiven myself for. The silence. 3 months slid by faster than I expected. I watched Brandon from a distance, not stalking, just paying attention. He seemed to have pulled back. Megan's name stopped appearing on the office calendar that his receptionist kept visible on the front desk. When I dropped off the signed insurance form 2 weeks after the parking lot, yes, I eventually signed it. He could not meet my eyes. He just took the folder, muttered, "Thanks," and closed his office door. I took that as progress. Maybe Colleen was wrong. Maybe people could stop. The final weeks before the wedding blurred into a whirlwind of details. Seating charts, playlist approvals, final head count. I handled most of it through email since I had been quietly pushed out of the in-person planning. Nobody complained about that arrangement. They were happy to let me do the invisible work as long as I stayed invisible. 2 days before the wedding, I drove to Wren Valley Estate alone. I walked the grounds. The stone patio where the ceremony would be held, the converted barn where dinner would be served, the row of string lights stretching between oak trees. The venue manager, a woman named Teresa, met me at the gate. "Everything is confirmed, Miss Templeton," she said, smiling. "It is going to be beautiful." I nodded, ran my hand along the stone wall, tried to feel happy, tried to feel something other than the low hum of dread I had been carrying for 12 weeks. I drove home, made dinner, fed my cat, sat on the couch and told myself, 2 more days and it is over. Jessica will be married. Brandon will have kept his promise. And maybe things will get easier. My phone buzzed at 8:47 in the evening. A text from Jessica. Everything went dark. The text from Jessica read, "Hey, so Mom and Gail and I talked. We think it is best if you do not come tomorrow. It is a day for real family. I hope you understand. Real family." I read it 3 times. Each time the 2 words hit differently. First confusion, then clarity, then something cold and still like the moment before a glass hits the floor. I called Jessica. Straight to voicemail. I called my mother. She picked up on the second ring. Her tone already rehearsed. "Sweetheart, I think this is what is best for everyone. Jessica needs her day to be peaceful without the pressure." "What pressure?" "You know, Myra, you are always a lot. I paid for the entire wedding. And we appreciate that. But this is not about money." "Then what is it about?" Diane paused. I heard Gail's voice in the background. Indistinct but there. My mother was on speaker. I was being managed. "Jessica just wants the people who make her feel safe," Diane said carefully. "That is all." I hung up, sat on my bed, stared at the wall. 20 minutes later, Colleen called. She had seen it. Not from me, but from a mutual friend. Because Jessica had not just texted me. She had screenshotted her own message and posted it to the bridesmaid group chat, the one I had been excluded from months ago. Her caption, "Finally did it. No more drama queen at my wedding." The replies came fast. "Hannah, her maid of honor. Proud of you, babe. Brianna, a college friend. She will get over it. Tyler, our cousin. About time. TBH. 8 people. Laughing emojis, a GIF of someone waving goodbye. My sister had turned my exclusion into entertainment. Colleen was still on the phone. I could hear her breathing, waiting for me to say something. "How many people are in that chat?" I asked. "At least 10, maybe 12. I closed my eyes. 12 people. 12 people watching my sister celebrate kicking me out of a wedding I paid for. 12 people who did not think to say, "Wait, is not Myra the one who handled all of this?" "What are you going to do?" Colleen asked. "I do not know yet." I sat there for 2 hours. I did not cry. I did not throw anything. I just sat in the dark and let 8 years of giving play back like a highlight reel nobody asked for. The mortgage payments, the tuition, the rent, the car insurance, the $47,000, and now, at the end of all of it, a group chat full of laughing emojis. Then I picked up my phone and typed 5 words to Jessica. Good. Real family can pay for the venue themselves. I hit send, set the phone down. 3 minutes later, Colleen texted. She screenshotted your reply. It is in the group chat. Jessica's comment under my message, "OMG, the audacity. Tyler. She acts like she owns the wedding lol." And then Jessica typed the line that would follow her for the rest of this story. She can take her charity back. I do not need it. She can take her charity back. My mother saw the thread. She sent me a separate text. You are embarrassing yourself, Myra. Stop. I did not reply, but I opened my laptop and I opened the folder. Every contract, every receipt, every vendor, agreement with my name on every signature line. I was not embarrassing myself. I was getting ready. I slept. At 7 in the morning of the wedding, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open and my phone in my hand. Colleen sat across from me with 2 mugs of coffee, one pushed toward me, untouched. You do not have to do this, she said, but her voice said otherwise. I picked up the phone and called Wren Valley Estate. Good morning. This is Myra Templeton. I would like to cancel the reservation under my name for today's event. Silence. Then Teresa's voice careful. Miss Templeton, are you certain? The wedding is in 6 hours. I am certain. The contract is under my name. I am exercising my right to cancel. I understand. I will process the cancellation. You will receive a confirmation email within the hour. I hung up. Colleen pushed the coffee closer. I called the caterer. Same conversation, same calm, same result. Then the florist, then the photographer. 4 calls, 12 minutes. My voice did not shake once. My hands did. I pressed them flat against the table between calls, feeling the wood grain under my fingertips, steadying myself like a surgeon between procedures. Colleen did not say a word. She just sat there, solid and still. And when I put the phone down after the last call, she reached across the table and squeezed my wrist once. That was all I needed. $47,000 gone from Jessica's wedding in 12 minutes. Not because I wanted revenge, but because every one of those contracts had my name on it, and the person whose name was on them had been told she was not family. I stared at the confirmation emails as they came in one after another, and then I turned my phone off. Because I knew what was coming next. Let me pause here for a second. If you have ever been the one holding everything together, paying the bills, keeping the peace, absorbing the blame, and one day they told you that you do not even belong, I want to hear your story. Drop it in the comments. And if this is hitting close to home, hit subscribe so you do not miss what happens when the venue actually calls my mom. Because trust me, that conversation did not go the way she expected. Here is what was happening on the other side of town while I sat in my kitchen with my phone off. Diane woke up early. She had been staying at the house to help Jessica get ready. Hair and makeup were scheduled for 9 in the morning. She was in the kitchen making she checked her phone and saw my reply from the night before. Good. Real family can pay for the venue themselves. She laughed. I know this because Carol, my Aunt Diane's younger sister, told me later. She said Diane read the text out loud to Gail, who had arrived at 7:30 to help with last-minute preparations. Look at this, Diane said, shaking her head. She thinks she is being clever. Gail barely glanced at the screen. She is bluffing. She would not dare. Diane waved her hand. She has been threatening to stop helping since she was 25. She never follows through. Trust me, by this afternoon she will be at the door with pastries and an apology. That is what she does. She threatens, she sulks, and then she comes back. She said it with such confidence, like she was describing a weather pattern. Predictable, manageable, not worth worrying about. And honestly, she was not wrong about the pattern. For 8 years, that is exactly what I had done. Every argument ended the same way. I would express frustration. Diane would make me feel guilty, and I would fold every single time. So when my mother told Gail not to worry, she had 8 years of evidence on her side. She just did not know that this time was different. She did not know about the parking lot, or the 4-month affair, or the 12 people laughing in a group chat. She did not know that the girl who always came back had finally run out of reasons to. By 8 in the morning, Diane had already controlled the story. She posted in the extended family group chat, the one with aunts, uncles, and cousins on both sides. Just a heads up. Myra is being dramatic because she was not included in a few wedding decisions. Please do not engage with her today. She needs space to calm down. My Aunt Carol, Diane's younger sister, called me at 8:15. I just turned my phone back on. Myra, your mom says you are causing problems. Honey, it is Jessica's big day. Can you just I said, and I used the word deliberately the way I always had since I was small. Did she tell you I paid for the entire wedding? Silence? She said Brandon's family handled the venue. Brandon's family did not pay a cent. I paid the venue, the catering, the flowers, the photographer, $47,000, all under my name. More silence. I could hear her breathing change. All of it, every contract, every deposit, every invoice. A long pause, then quietly. Why did not you say something sooner? Because I did not think I needed to. I thought my family knew. Carol did not say anything for a while. When she spoke again, her voice was different, stripped of the performative concern, replaced with something heavier. What are you going to do? I already did it. I canceled the contracts this morning. Myra, they told me I am not family, so I stopped paying like I am. The call ended. I did not know whose side Carol would take. She loved Diane, but Carol was also the kind of woman who tracked every dollar and every slight with the precision of a forensic accountant. She would do the math, and the math would not favor my mother. At 9:22 in the morning, Jessica called the venue to confirm the setup timeline for the afternoon ceremony. I know this because Teresa, the venue manager, told me later when she emailed to confirm the cancellation was complete. She said Jessica called and asked to speak with someone about the table arrangement for the reception. Teresa said, I am sorry, but the reservation under Templeton has been canceled as of this morning. Jessica paused. Canceled by who? By Miss Templeton, the contract holder. I am Miss Templeton. I am the bride. The contract was signed by Myra Templeton. She is the authorized party. Teresa said. Jessica went completely silent for about 8 seconds. Then she hung up. At 9:31 in the morning, my phone lit up. I had turned it back on after Carol's call just to see what was coming. Jessica's name on the screen, I answered. Tell me she is lying, Jessica said. Her voice was shaking. Tell me the venue is wrong. Your venue is canceled, so is the catering, the florist, the photographer. You cannot do this. The wedding is in 5 hours. I did not cancel your wedding, Jessica. I canceled my contracts. There is a difference. What contracts? Since when are they your contracts? Since I signed them. Since I paid for them. Since my name went on every line. She did not know. She genuinely did not know whose name was on those documents. She had never asked, never cared, never thought to check. She had pointed at what she wanted and assumed someone else would handle the rest. In the background, I heard Diane's voice rise. What is happening? Jessica pulled away from the phone. I heard fragments. Cancelled. Her name. All of them. Before the line went dead. Diane called Wren Valley next. I can picture her standing in the kitchen, one hand gripping the counter, the other pressing the phone against her ear hard enough to leave a mark. There has been a mistake, she said. My daughter's wedding is this afternoon. Teresa was polite, professional, final. The reservation was under Myra Templeton's name. She has exercised her cancellation rights per the contract. We cannot reinstate without her authorization and a new deposit. My daughter is getting married today. I understand, ma'am. I am sorry. Diane called the caterer. Same answer. The florist, same. The photographer, same. 4 calls. 4 walls, no doors. And then Gail spoke. She had been standing in the hallway listening. She had been patient all morning, organizing corsages, steaming Jessica's dressmaking lists. She was built for logistics, for control, for knowing exactly who was responsible for what. And she had just heard 4 vendor calls go the same way. Diane. Her voice was very quiet. You told me your family had the venue covered. Diane did not answer. Who paid for the venue? It is complicated. Who paid for the venue? Diane. Myra handled the deposits. Handled, you mean paid? Diane's jaw tightened. Yes. And the catering? Yes. And the flowers? The photographer? Yes. Gail set down the corsage she had been holding. You let the person who financed this entire wedding get uninvited from her own contracts. And you did not think to mention that to me. Diane had no answer for that, because there was no answer. She had hidden the truth to save face, and now the face was crumbling in real time. Gail pulled out her phone. I will call my caterer. We will do this at your house backyard. Nobody argued. There was nothing left to argue with. I heard the details secondhand. Colleen had a friend, Dana, who was on Jessica's guest list. Dana texted Colleen updates throughout the morning, like a field correspondent reporting from a disaster zone. 2:14 in the morning. Just got a text from the bride. Venue changed to her mom's house. What is happening? 10:38 in the morning. Brandon's mom is barking orders at everyone. Someone is setting up folding chairs in the backyard. 11:02 in the morning. Jessica has not come out of her room. Her makeup artist left. Apparently nobody told the makeup artist about the venue change. 11:47 in the morning. Flowers are from Costco. I am not kidding. I sat on my couch reading these texts and feeling nothing. Not satisfaction, not guilt. Just a flatness that comes when you have been carrying a weight for 8 years, and suddenly it is gone, and your body does not know what to do with all that empty space. Colleen came over. She did not say much. She sat next to me and scrolled through Dana's updates, and once in a while, she would look at me like she was checking for cracks. You okay? She asked at noon. I think so. You did the right thing. I know. I did not go. Of course I did not go. But I could picture it. Diane's backyard. A 1/4-acre lot with a rusted swing set from our childhood still standing in the corner. White plastic chairs borrowed from the church. Folding tables with tablecloths that did not quite reach the edges. A Bluetooth speaker sitting on the porch railing, playing a Spotify playlist instead of the string quartet Jessica had picked out 6 months ago. And Gail. Gail standing in the middle of it, mouth tight, watching her son get married in a setting that matched none of the invitations she had sent. The invitations that said Wren Valley Estate. The guests started arriving at 1 in the afternoon. Dana kept the texts coming. Most of them stood in the driveway for a few seconds too long, looking down at the invitation in their hand, then up at the house, then back at the invitation. The disconnect was immediate. They had been told Wren Valley Estate, and they were standing in front of a vinyl-sided colonial with a garden hose coiled by the porch. What happened to the venue? Someone asked Diane at the door. Change of plans, Diane said with a smile that looked like it had been nailed on. We wanted something more intimate, but the story did not hold. It could not. Not with 60 people whispering. Aunt Carol arrived at 1:15. She found her husband Rick by the dessert table, which was actually a card table with a Walmart sheet cake and a bowl of mints, and told him everything. Who paid? How much? Why the venue was canceled. Rick told his brother. His brother told his wife. His wife told the woman sitting next to her who happened to be Jessica's college roommate. By 1:45, most of the guests knew. And then someone Dana did not catch who repeated Jessica's line from the group chat, the one that had been screenshotted and shared and laughed at the night before. She can take her charity back. I do not need it. The line rippled through the crowd like a stone dropped in shallow water. People glanced around at the plastic chairs, the Costco flowers, the Bluetooth speaker crackling through a love song. They looked at the potluck dishes crowding the kitchen counter, casseroles and crock pots, and a tray of supermarket pinwheels. She can take her charity back. Every folding chair in that backyard was proof of how badly Jessica needed exactly that. The ceremony happened at 2 in the afternoon short. A local officiant Gail had called that morning. Jessica walked down a strip of white fabric laid over grass holding a bouquet of hydrangeas still wrapped in Costco cellophane at the stems. Diane walked beside her, chin high eyes fixed forward, refusing to look at anyone in the folding chairs. They said their vows. Brandon smiled the way. He always smiled wide, practiced, designed for an audience. Jessica's voice cracked twice. She got through it. Then came the reception, such as it was. Tables were set up under a pop-up canopy Brandon's friend had brought from his garage. Gail's caterer had managed to pull together sandwich platters and a fruit display on 4 hours' notice. The Bluetooth speaker played Ed Sheeran on shuffle. People ate, people drank, people tried very hard to act like this was normal. It was 3:15 when it happened. Table 3, Brandon's side. A woman named Karen, one of Brandon's co-workers invited, because she had helped close a deal for the firm last quarter, was on her second glass of wine. She was talking to 2 of Brandon's college buddies, and the conversation had drifted to office gossip, the way it does when people are bored and the food is mediocre. "I cannot believe he actually went through with it," Karen said, gesturing toward Brandon with her wine glass. "After everything with Megan at the office." One of the friends frowned. "What do you mean?" Karen paused, looked at their faces, realized slowly that whatever she knew was not common knowledge outside the building. "Wait," she said. "You guys did not know about Megan." The table went quiet then. Not quiet then. Very, very loud in the direction of the bridal party. It reached Jessica in under 10 minutes. Karen told Brandon's friends. Brandon's friends told the best man. The best man pulled Brandon aside, and whatever he said made Brandon's face go from tan to gray in about 3 seconds. But it was too late. Hannah, the maid of honor, had already heard from the groomsman's girlfriend who had been sitting one table over. Hannah walked straight to Jessica. "I do not know exactly what she said. Dana's text just read, 'Oh my God. Oh my God.' Jessica is asking Brandon who Megan is in front of everyone." Jessica stood in the middle of the backyard, still in her dress, still holding the bouquet. She looked at Brandon and said it loud enough for the first 3 rows of chairs to hear. "Who is Megan?" Brandon stepped toward her. "Babe, it is nothing." "Who is Megan?" He opened his mouth, closed it, looked around at 60 faces watching him, and found not a single one that offered help. He told her not all of it, but enough. Enough for Jessica to stop talking. Enough for the bouquet to drop from her hand onto the grass. Enough for her to sit down in the nearest white plastic chair and stare at the ground like she was trying to read something written in the dirt. Gail moved first. She crossed the yard, grabbed Brandon's arm, and pulled him toward the driveway. "We are leaving. Now." He did not resist. Diane stood by the cake table, one hand on the edge, looking at the Walmart sheet cake like it might contain instructions for what to do next. Guests left in clusters. Quiet goodbyes. Averted eyes. Aunt Carol folded tablecloths without looking at Diane. By 3:45 in the afternoon, the backyard was empty. Nobody cut the cake. I know a lot of you are probably wondering, did I plan that? Did I send Karen? Did I arrange for Brandon's secret to come out at his own wedding? I did not. I did not know Karen would be there. I did not point her toward a glass of wine and a loose tongue. I just stopped protecting a secret that was never mine to carry. Sometimes when you step back, the truth finds its own way to the surface. If that hits home for you, if you have ever carried someone else's lie to protect them, subscribe and share this story, because the ending is not what you think. Jessica called me at 6 in the evening that evening. I was sitting on my kitchen floor with my back against the cabinet eating cereal out of the box because I had not had the energy to cook. My cat was asleep on the counter. Colleen had gone home an hour earlier after making me promise to eat something. I picked up the phone. Did not say anything. Just waited. Jessica's breathing was uneven. The kind you hear after someone has been crying for hours and has nothing left but the rhythm of it. "How long did you know?" she asked. 3 months. The line went so quiet I checked to make sure the call was still connected. 3 months, she repeated. Not a question. A measurement. Like she was calculating exactly how many days I had sat across from her at family dinners knowing. "Why did not you tell me?" I pressed my head back against the cabinet, stared at the ceiling. "Because if I told you, Mom would have said I was trying to destroy your happiness. She would have called me jealous, and you would have believed her." Jessica did not argue. That was the worst part. She did not argue because she knew I was right. So you just let me marry him. You did not marry him, Jessica. Karen stopped that. But you would have let me if Karen had not said anything. I closed my eyes. I do not know. I have been asking myself the same thing every day for 3 months. She was crying again. Quietly this time, the way people cry when they are too exhausted for sound. I am sorry, I said. For the silence. That part. I am sorry. She did not say it back. The line went dead. That was not forgiveness. That was goodbye. 2 days later, Diane called. I was at my desk at work, eating lunch at my computer the way I always do. Turkey sandwich, apple, a glass of water. My phone lit up with her name. I let it ring 3 times before I picked up. She did not start with hello. Are you happy now? She said. You destroyed your sister's life. I set my sandwich down, wiped my hands on a napkin, took a breath. I did not invite Karen. I did not make Brandon cheat. I canceled contracts that had my name on them after being told I was not family. You always have to be right. You always have to stand above everyone. Mom, I paid your mortgage for 6 years. I paid Jessica's tuition. I spent $47,000 on a wedding I was uninvited from. I am not standing above anyone. I am just tired. If your father were alive, if Dad were alive, he never would have let you tell me I am not family. Silence. The kind that has a texture thick, heavy, filling up the space between the phone and my ear like something solid. I heard her swallow. I heard the clock on her kitchen wall, the one Dad bought at a flea market in 1998. The one that still ticks too loud. I am not asking you to agree with me, I said. I am telling you I am done. Done with what done paying. Done pretending. Done being the person who holds everything together, so everyone else can pretend it holds itself. She hung up. I sat at my desk for a few minutes, finished my sandwich, drank my water, went back to work. It was the most peaceful lunch I had had in 8 years. That week, I did something I should have done years ago. I sat down with my financial advisor, a woman named Patricia, who had been telling me for 3 years that my family obligations were eating my retirement. She never pushed. She just showed me the numbers each quarter and let them speak for themselves. This time, I did not need the numbers to speak. I needed them to stop. I want to cancel the automatic mortgage payment to my mother's address, I said, effective immediately. Patricia nodded, no surprise. I will process it today. Anything else? Pull up everything I have been paying on behalf of family members, all of it. She turned her monitor toward me. The spreadsheet filled the screen. 6 years of mortgage payments, 4 years of tuition insurance premiums, emergency transfers, the wedding vendors. Line after line after line. The total at the bottom, $214,600. I looked at that number for a long time. $214,600. That was more than a down payment on a house, more than a decade of retirement contributions, more than most people earn in 4 years. And what did I have to show for it? A sister who called me a drama queen, a mother who told me I was not family, a group chat full of laughing emojis. I want to send a formal notification to my mother, I said. Email. Paper trail stating that the payments stop immediately and she needs to make alternative arrangements. Patricia drafted it on the spot. Professional, clear, final. I signed it. She sent it. Colleen met me for dinner that night. She asked how I was feeling. Like I just put down something heavy, I said. And my arms do not know what to do yet. She raised her glass. They will figure it out. The call I did not expect came 3 days later. Grandma Ruth, 72. Sharp as a blade wrapped in a quilt. She lived in an assisted living facility 20 minutes from town, not because she could not take care of herself, but because her knees had given out, and the stairs in her old house had become a negotiation she kept losing. She called on a Sunday morning. I was still in bed. Carol told me everything she said. No preamble, no small talk. That was Ruth. Are you mad at me? I asked. I sounded like I was 12 again. I am mad at myself. I watched Diane do this to you for years and I did not say enough. I should have said more. I pulled the blanket up to my chin, stared at the ceiling. You know who you remind me of, she said. Your father. He was the same way. Gave until there was nothing left. Carried the whole family on his back and never complained. And you know what it got him? Cancer at 51? No. It got him a family that forgot he was human. The cancer came after. I pressed my hand over my eyes. Something cracked open in my chest that I had been holding shut for weeks. He would have told you to stop a long time ago, Ruth said softly. He would have told you that holding a family together is not your job, if the family will not hold you back, I cried. For the first time since Jessica's text. Not the quiet kind. The kind where your whole body participates, where you cannot breathe right, and your face does things you cannot control. Ruth waited. She did not shush me. She did not say it is okay. She just stayed on the line and let me fall apart. Do not go back out of guilt, she said finally. Go back when you want to, and only if you want to. 2 weeks after the wedding, Diane's world started to shrink. Aunt Carol stopped calling. Not dramatically, she just stopped. The Sunday phone calls that had been a ritual for 20 years quietly disappeared. When Diane called Carol, the conversations were short and polite and full of the kind of silence that says everything a person will not. I think you need to talk to Myra first, Carol told her. Before you talk to me. At church, Diane's anchor, the place she had gone every Sunday since my father's funeral, things shifted. She used to sit in the third row. Now she drifted toward the back. Not because anyone told her to, but because the women she to sit with had heard the story, the real one. The one where a woman kicked out the daughter who had spent $200,000 keeping the family afloat and then lied about it to her in-laws. Nobody confronted Diane. That is not how small towns work. They just made space. The kind of space that feels a lot like distance. Diane posted on Facebook. Our family is going through a difficult season. Please keep us in your prayers. 12 likes, 2 generic comments. No one asked what happened because everyone already knew. The mortgage notice came 3 weeks after I canceled the auto payment. I know because Carol mentioned it, not to be cruel, but because she was worried about the house. Diane had 30 days to make a payment she had not made on her own in 6 years. I heard all of this secondhand and I let it sit without acting on it. This is the part people do not tell you about boundaries. They do not feel like victory. They feel like standing on a cliff you built yourself, watching the bridge behind you burn and knowing you are the one who lit the match. Jessica's aftermath was quieter and somehow worse. She officially called off the engagement 4 days after the backyard ceremony. Brandon moved out of the apartment. They had been sharing the one whose rent he had been splitting with a salary that it turned out was about 60% of what he had told Jessica it was. Another lie in a pile that kept growing. Gail cut ties cleanly. No dramatic phone call. No blowout. She simply stopped responding to Diane's texts. The Hale family folded inward and closed the door. In a small town, that kind of silence is louder than shouting. Jessica moved back into Diane's house, into her old bedroom, into the twin bed, with the lavender comforter she had had since high school. At the office, Brandon's world was not much better. Karen, the woman whose wine-loosened comment had detonated the reception, had not kept quiet out of malice. She had genuinely assumed everyone knew about Megan. But once the story traveled back to the firm, Brandon became the guy who got exposed at his own wedding. The kind of reputation that follows you into every conference room. 3 weeks after the wedding, Jessica sent me a single text. I know you think I deserved all of this. I read it on a Tuesday night while heating up leftovers. I looked at the words, considered 12 different replies, and chose none of them. Not because I was punishing her. Not because I was making a point. I just was not ready. The wound was still open, and I did not trust myself to respond without either caving or cutting. And I did not want to do either. So I left the message on read and went to bed. Some conversations need silence before they can hold words. A month after the wedding, I got promoted. Senior manager. It came with a corner office, a modest raise, and more importantly, the recognition that I had been doing the work for 2 years without the title. My boss said something during the announcement that stuck with me. Myra delivers consistently, and she never asks for credit. I almost laughed. Of course, I did not ask for credit. I had been trained not to. But the promotion was not the real change. The real change was quieter. For the first time in 8 years, I was not budgeting around someone else's crisis. No emergency transfers. No, just this once checks. No auto payments bleeding out of my account to cover someone else's life. My financial advisor sent me a quarterly statement, and I stared at the balance like it belonged to a stranger. I moved apartments, found a one-bedroom closer to Ruth's facility, 10 minutes instead of 30. Nothing fancy, but it had a small balcony and morning light, and enough room for my cat to sit in a sunbeam, which felt like luxury. On weekends, I visited Ruth. We ate pie. She liked cherry. I liked pecan. And watched Jeopardy reruns. She would yell at the TV when contestants missed easy questions, and I would refill her tea. And for those 2 hours, the world felt manageable. I started seeing a therapist, a woman named Dr. Adler, mid-50s, reading glasses on a chain. The first session, she asked me a question I could not answer. If you stopped giving, who are you? I stared at her. I do not know, I said. I have never not been giving. Then, that is where we start. It was not a breakthrough. It was a crack in the wall. Small enough to miss, big enough to let light in. 3 months after the wedding, Jessica sent a second text. It was not long, but it was different from the first. The first one had been defensive. I know you think I deserved all of this. A sentence shaped like an accusation wearing an apology's clothes. The second one was this. I do not expect you to forgive me, but I want you to know that I finally understand what it costs to be the one who holds everything together. I took that for granted not once, but every single time, and I am sorry I never saw it until you stopped. I read it sitting on my balcony at sunset. My cat was on my lap. The sky was doing that thing it does in October where the light goes amber and everything looks like a painting you cannot afford. I did not delete the message. I did not reply either. Colleen came over that Friday. I showed her the text. Are you going to respond? She asked. Maybe when I am ready. And when is that? When I can respond because I want to, not because I feel like I have to. She nodded. That is the healthiest thing I have ever heard you say. Dr. Adler is earning her copay. I learned through Aunt Carol that Jessica had started therapy of her own, that she had gotten a job entry-level marketing at a small firm in the next town over, that she was paying Diane's grocery bills now, which was its own kind of poetry. I did not reach out. Not yet. There was a part of me that wanted to, the part that remembered the girl gripping my sleeve the night our father died. But there was another part, newer and quieter, that said, wait, make sure you are walking towards something, not just falling back into old patterns. So I waited. On a Sunday in late October, I drove to the cemetery. It was one of those mornings where the air is sharp enough to wake you up, but the sun is warm enough to forgive it. I parked by the old oak tree, the same spot I had parked 100 times before, and walked the gravel path to my father's headstone. James Templeton, 1971 to 2016. Beloved husband and father. I sat down on the grass. It was damp. I did not care. Hey, Dad. I used to come here and talk to him about everything. The mortgage, the tuition, the bills, the family. I would update him, like he was a board member, and I was delivering a quarterly report. Here is what is happening. Here is what I am spending. Here is what I am holding together. I thought that is what he would want to hear. This time, I said something different. I kept my promise. 8 years. I kept the house. I kept Mom stable. I got Jessica through school. I paid for everything and I showed up every time and I never complained. Not once. A bird landed on the headstone, tilted its head at me, flew away. But I lost myself doing it. And I think, if you were here, you would have told me to stop a long time ago. You would have said, that is enough, kid. Take care of yourself now. I sat there for 10 minutes without saying anything else. Just breathing. Just being in a place that used to make me feel guilty, and now for the first time made me feel still. I stood up, touched the top of the headstone. I kept your promise, Dad, but now I am making a new one to myself. I walked back to my car. I did not cry. I just drove home. People ask me if I regret it. The question usually comes in 2 parts. The first, do I regret canceling the wedding vendors? That one is easy. No. Those contracts had my name on them. I paid for every dollar. I was told I was not family. I acted accordingly. I did not blow up the wedding. I removed what was mine. The rest fell apart on its own. The second question is harder. Do I regret keeping Brandon's secret for 3 months? Every day. I should have told Jessica the moment I saw him in that parking lot. I should have walked into Diane's kitchen and laid it on the table like a bill that was past due. I did not, because I was still trying to protect someone who did not want my protection. And that silence, that 3 months of swallowing a truth I had no right to carry, is the one thing I would take back if I could. But here is what I have learned. Sitting in Dr. Adler's office every Thursday at 4 in the afternoon. You cannot protect someone from the truth, and you do not owe anyone your sacrifice if they do not consider you worth keeping. Setting a boundary is not revenge. It is not cruelty. It is not selfishness. It is the moment you say out loud, or in your own head, I exist. I matter. And I choose myself. Not because I do not love them, but because loving them was killing me and no one noticed. I used to think boundaries were walls, something you build to keep people out. But they are not walls. They are doors. And for the first time, in 31 years, I learned that I get to choose who walks through. Not my mother, not my sister, not the ghost of a promise I made to a dead man in my own head. Me. 6 months later, I am sitting in my apartment on a Thursday night. There is pasta on the stove. Nothing complicated. Just garlic and olive oil and whatever was left in the fridge. My cat is on the counter again, which I have stopped pretending to care about. The balcony door is open, and the November air is coming in, and I have got my dad's old playlist on shuffle. Springsteen, Tom Petty, that one Fleetwood Mac song he used to play on road trips. Diane has not called. I do not wait for it anymore. She refinanced the house. Carol helped her find a broker. The monthly payment is higher now, but it is hers. Her name, her responsibility. I hear she is managing. Not thriving, but managing. That used to be my word. Jessica is working. Paying her own rent for the first time, going to therapy. Carol says she is different. Quieter, more careful with people. I do not know if that is growth or just exhaustion. Sometimes they look the same from a distance. I have not responded to her second text, but I have not deleted it either. It sits in my messages like a door I might open someday. Not today, not tomorrow, but someday. Ruth and I still eat pie on Saturdays. Last week she beat me at Scrabble by 42 points and told me I was slipping. I told her she was cheating. She told me to prove it. I could not. I do not know how this story ends. I do not know if Jessica and I will find our way back. I do not know if Diane will ever understand. But I know this. I am no longer the safety net for people who do not value me. And for the first time in 8 years, that is enough. So that is my story. If you had to choose between protecting your peace or protecting a family that does not protect you, which would you pick? Drop your answer in the comments. A for peace, B for family. And if you want to hear another story about someone who finally stopped being the family ATM, check the description. I have got one that will make your jaw drop. If you really like our videos, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.